Some official watch faces for Galaxy watches have access to exclusive complication providers. Even though we do not have access to those providers, we can replicate some of them using the Watch Face Studio. In this video I'm going to show you how to create a calendar, which will display the days of the current week. The first thing I'm going to do is create a background for the calendar. For that I'll use a round rectangle. I'll add a border to it and remove the background color. Next, I'll add some basic text, which will represent the day of the week, represented by a static letter, in this case the letter S for Sunday. Now I'll add an ellipse and set its size, position, and color. This will work as a background for the date. As the date is a dynamic value, and its value will be set using tags, I'll add a date component instead of basic text for better optimization. I'll also set its position and boundaries to have the same values as the ellipse, so it can fit inside. For now, as I'm just creating the design and not the logic, I'll set the value to be 00. As all these components are related, I'll group them to keep things organized. The designs of the other days of the week are the same, therefore, I can copy and paste this group and adjust what is necessary, like this. First, I'll rename the components' names again, just to keep things organized. Then I'll set the new static letter for this day, in this case the letter M for Monday. After that I'll just move this group a bit to the right, so it won't overlap. To keep them aligned, I'll move each group 42 pixels to the right of the previous one. 42 pixels because the width of each group is 32 pixels, which is the size I set for the ellipse, plus 10 pixels to add some space between them. Now I just need to repeat the same process for the other days of the week. I'll group them again, as they represent the same information. Before I continue, I want to explain how the expression works. For that I separated it into two parts. The first one is how we can get the total number of days in the previous month. This is quite easy. Each month has a defined number of days. For example, April has 30 days, May has 31, and so on. But we will need the number of days the previous month has, not the current one. For example, if the current month is June, we need the total number of days May has. If the current month is May, we will need the number of days April has. Visually we can achieve this result by simply shifting all numbers to the right, like this. Now the values represent the number of days the previous month has. For example, if the current month is March, the previous month might have 28 or 29 days. Now let's create a logic for this. As March is the only one that can have two different values, let's move it here to the side. Now we have months that are either 31 or 30 days. I'll group them down here. Let's create an expression that can represent these groups. In the case of March, it can be either 28 or 29, depending on whether the year is a leap year or not. We can check if the year is a leap year by dividing the year by 4. If the rest of the division is different than 0, it is a leap year, otherwise it is not. So now we can return 29 or 28 based on the current year. But this expression should only be used when the current month is March, which is represented by the number 3. So, we can change the expression to look like this. If the current month is 3, then check if it is a leap year or not and return 28 or 29. Otherwise, we return the other values. As we have only 4 months that return 30, I'll focus on them to make the expression shorter. So now we check if the current month is 5, or if the current month is 7, or if the current month is 10, or if the current month is 12. If the current month is any of these, then we return 30, otherwise, we return 31. Great, now we have an expression that gives us the total number of days in the previous month. Now let's create the calendar expression. Each day of the week is represented by a number, from 1 up to 7. Watch Face Studio gives a tag that returns the current day of the week as a number. It also gives us a tag that returns the current day of the month. Now let's imagine that today is Tuesday, 17th. So, the other days of the current week would be these ones, but we don't have access to these values using a tag. But there is a logic behind it. For example, tomorrow, in this example, Wednesday, it would be 18, which is 17 plus 1, Thursday would be 17 plus 2. The same for the other way around. Monday would be 17 minus 1, and so on. And we can get these values by subtracting the day of the week by the current day of the week. Let me show you. For example, Wednesday is represented by the number 4. If we subtract the current day of the week from 4, we get 1. If we add the current day of the month, we get 18. Let's test it out with Thursday, which is represented by the number 5. 5 minus 3 equals 2. The current day of the month, plus this value, equals 19. It also works the other way around. we just need to keep the same logic. For example, Monday is represented by the number 2. 2 minus 3 equals minus 1. The current day of the month, 17, plus minus 1 equals 16. Now let's convert this equation into an expression. For example, for Sunday the expression would be the current day of the month, plus 1, minus the current day of the week. For Monday, the same expression, but instead of 1, we use the number 2. For Tuesday 3 and so on. There are some edge cases. For example, let's say that today is now Wednesday the 30th. Thursday would be 30 plus 1, which we can get using the expression for Thursday. 30 plus 5 minus 4 equals 31. But if we add the same logic for the other days, the result will be wrong for Friday and Saturday, which will give us the values 32 for Friday and 33 for Saturday. But if we subtract 31 from both of these values, we get the correct result, which are 2 and 1. So, our new expression is this one. In this case 31 is the total number of days the current month has. Thankfully, WFS has a tag that returns this value, so we can replace it with the correct tag in order for the expression to work with months that do not have 31 days. But if we shift the days again, the expression breaks. Friday will return 0 using this expression, but Saturday will return the correct value. This happens because this expression only works if the first expression we've created is greater than the total days the current month has. So, we need to check this using the tags. If we add the difference of the days of the week to the current day of the month, and the result is greater than the total number of days the current month has, we return the expression we just created, which will subtract the number of days the current month has. Otherwise, we return the same expression without subtracting the total number of days. Now using this expression, the results returned are correct. To keep things shorter, we can simplify the expression. Note that these two parts are pretty much the same. The only difference is that from this one, we are subtracting the total number of days from the current month, and we only subtract it when this expression is true. The simplified version will look like this. That same expression is here, but only repeated once. Now if the condition is true, we return the total number of days, which will be subtracted from the expression. If the expression is false, we return 0, which will also be subtracted, but as it is 0, it will not make a difference. There is one last edge case we need to check, so I'll save this expression for now, because we are going to use it later. Let's say that today is now Friday, the 2nd. If we use the expression we just created, we will get the correct result for Thursday and Saturday, but not for the rest of the days. For example, for Wednesday we will get 0, for Tuesday minus 1, and so on. But this is simple to fix. We only need to subtract 30 from these values to get the correct number, 30, because that is the total number of days the previous month has. But this will only work if we are dealing with the days of the week from the previous month. Let's create an expression. If the day for Wednesday is less than or equal to 0, we will subtract the difference from the days of the week from the total number of days from the previous month. Otherwise, we return the expression we created before. We also create an expression that gives us the total number of days the previous month has. We just need to replace this pink part here with that expression, which will result in an expression that looks like this. Let's recap the expression. If we subtract the difference from the days of the week from the current day and this value is less than or equal to 0, it means that the day of the week is from the previous month. Then we get the total number of days from the previous month, and we add the difference to it. In this case the difference will be negative, -1, -2, and so on. Otherwise, we return that formula we created before. Let's test some cases. 29 plus 5 minus 3 equals 31. 31 is greater than 0, so we fall in the otherwise part of the expression. This part is the same expression, which returns 31. Then we check if 31 is greater than the total number of days of the current month, which is 30. So, this expression is true. In this case it returns 30, which will subtract from 31, which gives us 1, the correct day for Thursday. Another case. 1 plus 7 minus 5 equals 3. So, again, we fall in the otherwise part of the expression. 3 is, for sure, not greater than the number of days in the current month. So, we subtract 0 from it, which gives us 3, the correct day for Saturday. Just remember, this works for Saturday because we are using the number 7 here. If we want the value for Monday, we need to replace the 7s with 2s. For Sunday replace them with 1s, and so on for the other days of the week. With the expressions created, we can now add it to each day component. Just remember to change the number that represents each day of the week to match the corresponding component. Done. Now the days of the week are displayed, but we need to highlight the current day. For that, I'll start by hiding the current day using tags. Let me show you. Let's start with Sunday. First, I'll set the opacity of it to be 0, so it will not interfere with the expression. Then I'll check if the current day of the week is 1, which is the number for Sunday. If the current day is 1, Sunday, I'll return 0, which will hide it. Otherwise, I'll return 100, which will make it be completely visible. Now I'll do the same with the other groups. The only difference is that I'll replace the number 1 with the corresponding number of the day of the week I'm adding the expression to. As you can see now, when I simulate a date change, the corresponding day is not displayed. But we want to display it with a different style. For that, I'll copy one of the groups and change some things. First, I'll remove the opacity logic this group has, and rename its components. Then I'll set the date text color to be black. As this component will always display the current day, I can replace the expression with the tag that shows the current day of the month. Now I'll set the background to be white. I'll also change the text component that shows the letter to show white text. As I'll recycle this group, I need to make sure that the letter representing the name of the day of the week also matches the current day of the week. For that, I'll also create another expression here. If the current day of the week is 1, I'll return the letter S, otherwise, I'll return something else. Then I'll copy this expression, and I'll paste it inside the otherwise part. This way, if the current day of the week is not 1, then I'll check if the current day of the week is 2. If it is 2, I'll return M, otherwise, I'll return something else, which again, I'll paste the same expression for, this time checking if the current day is 3 and so on for the other days, always incrementing the number and adding the correct letter. Here at the end, I'm checking if the current day of the week is 6, if it is not, I can simply return the letter S, for Saturday, instead of checking again, as if the current day of the week is not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, it can only be 7. Great, now it shows the correct date and the correct letter. But it is in the wrong place. To fix that, I'll select the corresponding group, and I'll make its position dynamic. Each group has a width of 42, and the days of the week increment by 1 from 1 to 7. So, I just need to multiply 42 by the current day of the week to make it move. However, I want it to not move if the current day is 1, and I want it to move 1 place to the right if the current day is 2, and 2 to the right if the current day is 3, and so on. So, I'll subtract 1 from the current day of the week before multiplying it by 42. This way when the day is 1, I'll have 42 times 0, which will not make it move. If the current day is 2, then it will be 42 times 1, which will make it move once, and so on for the others. Now we need a title for the calendar. For that I'll add an icon of a calendar, and I'll tint it. Then I'll add another date component. In case you want the date format from the title to adapt to the user's language, I recommend you use the ICU component instead of the date component. Now I'll just set the text to display the current month and the current year, add some styling, like alignment and font, and then place it in the correct position. Done. I'll group these components and name it as title to organize. Now we have a calendar element that shows the current week. One last thing, let's make it interactive. For that I'll group everything again. And then to this new group I'll add a tap action for when the user taps the element, the calendar app opens. This is all for this video. In the description, you will find the link to my GitHub page. In it you will find some extra content, like expressions, app IDs, and a list with all projects I have created in video, including this one.